going on, Bengals fans? Stone Shields on hand for another edition of Bengals Breakdown. Hope you guys are excited for Thanksgiving, ready to spend some time with family, of course, and eat some pretty good food as well. I know I'm certainly looking forward to it. But coming up on today's show, we're going to be taking a look at kind of a broad AFC playoff picture. Certainly going to spend some time talking about the Cincinnati Bengals and the teams in which they are competing with for that final wild card spot in the AFC playoffs. But really going to go top to bottom across the entire conference and really just give a couple of notes, observations, and thoughts on each of the teams that are competing and eventually going to end up in the playoffs. So that is coming up here on today's edition of Bengals Breakdown. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to share today's video for me if you have not done so already. The bosses said we got to get 25 shares before the end of the month of November. So we got a couple of days to get that done, make that happen. And hopefully we can get at least half of those here on this video. That is the goal. So help me out. Share today's video on social media, any platform in which you desire. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. It works. Share today's video for me right now. All right, so here's kind of the broad picture as far as the AFC playoffs go. A familiar team up there at that number 1 seed, those Kansas City Chiefs, with Buffalo beating them a couple of weeks ago. Going to open up some competition in these latter parts of the season. I don't think Buffalo by any stretch is out of contention when it comes to possibly getting that first overall seed in the AFC playoffs. And your other division leaders include the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Texans as well. And those are kind of who are sitting at the top right now. But we'll start from the top and talk about those Kansas City Chiefs here on Bengals Breakdown. They did a nice job bouncing back against the Carolina Panthers. I know not a great football team, but I certainly think Bryce Young is coming along in recent weeks, and they really had to grind for that win, and Kansas City was able to get that done. Look, there's absolutely no chance this team doesn't make the playoffs. They have some clinching scenarios this week, but I think for them it's just a matter of if they're going to get that 1 seed or get that 2 seed, and we all know how challenging it is for opponents to go into Arrowhead Stadium, particularly in the playoffs, and have to go through that kind of gauntlet, play in that hostile environment. That's kind of what you're looking at here with the Kansas City Chiefs. I know Bengals fans do not like the Chiefs. I do not like the Chiefs either, but I'm also a realist, and I can sit there and say they are the best team in the AFC. But speaking of that, best team in the AFC leads us to the pin comment of today's video. I want to know what you guys think. Who do you think is the best team in the AFC? Pains me to say it, but I think pretty clearly it is still the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion. But sound off for us in the comments. If that ad comes here on YouTube, totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and let us know what you think. Next up here, the Buffalo Bills. Look, this is a really good football team as well. As of now, Josh Allen is the favorite to bring home the MVP. I think Saquon Barkley deserves it, to be completely honest with you. But, of course, at that quarterback position, the things that he is dealing with. Look, no Stephon Diggs in Buffalo this year, and I think they have gotten better because of it. It is really kind of the Josh Allen show. They've kind of established an ability to run the football. Joe Brady, of course. All Bengals fans know who Joe Brady is, was the OC at LSU in 2019. He's doing a great job with their offense, and they're really just taking strides, winning games, playing well in the fourth quarter, and playing well on both sides of the ball as well. So this Buffalo Bills team is for real, and I certainly think they are the second best team in the AFC. Again, not just because of their record, having the second best record or whatever the case may be. Pretty clear to me that Kansas City and Buffalo are at the top of the AFC at this point in the season. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They currently lead the AFC North. And obviously us Bengals fans are hoping that that no longer is the case after the Bengals get a win on Sunday. Look, this Pittsburgh team's really good. They're always going to find ways to win games. But as far as competing with teams like Buffalo and Kansas City, I just do not see it personally. I think, in fact, the Ravens, who we'll get to in a little bit, are actually going to vault themselves over the Pittsburgh Steelers in a matter of weeks, really, and I think they ultimately will win the division. But Mike Tomlin doing a great job. They're playing good defense. Bengals better come ready to go on Sunday, and that offensive line better be ready to block somebody as well, because T.J. Watt, of course, is the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year here in 2024. Bengals are going to have an answer for him. Cleveland had an answer for him on Thursday night. Let's see if Cincinnati does as well. Moving on to the Houston Texans. I think this clearly is pretty much the worst division leader in the AFC at this point. But when you look at their division in the South, with the Colts, Titans, and Jaguars, they can really just do whatever they want here down the stretch. They haven't played great football. They're dealing with a plethora of injuries. It looks like C.J. Stroud has perhaps regressed a touch. Don't get me wrong. He's still the franchise guy, still a great quarterback, but maybe hasn't taken the steps that the Texans were hoping for this year. And as I mentioned, pretty clearly the worst division-leading team here in the AFC. But I think they're going to find themselves in a position in the playoffs to potentially win a playoff game as a team that's going to have a home playoff game as a division winner. So those are the four leaders in the divisions right now in the AFC. Let's talk about the wild card here. Baltimore, of course, big win a couple of nights ago against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. This Ravens team's really, really good. It kind of makes you sick to your stomach a little bit considering you had them beat twice if you're the Cincinnati Bengals and you let it squander away both times, but they're really a complete football team. Lamar Jackson, once again, playing at that MVP level. Could he perhaps win that award once again? They've got some, favorable matchups down the stretch. Of course, a bye coming up, as well as playing the Giants and the Browns. Really interested to see that Eagles game. That should be a banger here this weekend, but the Ravens are a really solid team, and as I mentioned, I'm anticipating them leapfrogging Pittsburgh at some point before season's end and securing themselves a home playoff game, hoping to get back to that AFC Championship, which of course they lost last season. Now, the team they beat on Monday night, the Los Angeles Chargers, right now are the 6th seed in the AFC. Chargers playing really good football. At the beginning of the year, I said Jim Harbaugh was going to find a way to come in and make this team a contender right away, and that's exactly what he's done. Justin Herbert's playing the quarterback position at an elite level, and look, they don't have a ton of skill guys there on the outside, but they find ways to make it work. They were able to get back into that game late last night, ultimately ran out of time and weren't able to come back and win. On Monday night, rather. But, they can do some things in the run game as well, and they play really, really good defense. Jesse Minter really taking things that he did at Michigan and translating it here over to the NFL, and it's working out really, really well for them. Los Angeles now is a 6th seed. They could get caught by Denver if Denver stays hot, but obviously Cincinnati hoping that is not the case. But right now, the Chargers are that 6th seed in the AFC playoffs, and we will see how they progress throughout the remainder of the season. Some big-time matchups coming their way. Do have to deal with the Chiefs again as well, so that will be critical for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now we will get into kind of the important part of this show here in a bit, talking about those teams that Cincinnati really is competing for. But first, want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Fanatics. Let you guys know that Bengals sideline hats are out now and are on sale now, and would really encourage you guys to head on over to Fanatics and check some of these hats out. Look, I've got a few of these myself. Some really cool hats there on Fanatics. Bengals wear a lot of these on the sideline, as you can tell. Bengals sideline hats there in the link, but really encourage you guys to do that. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video, so really appreciate Fanatics and some really cool hats there that I would encourage you guys to head on over to their website and check those out. All right, like I said, meaningful part of our show here coming your way right now. The Denver Broncos at this point in the season, didn't anticipate Vegas being able to get the job done and defeat them last week. Certainly would have helped the Cincinnati Bengals out if that were to be the case. But they've got some favorable matchups here on the horizon. Maybe Cleveland, Jameis Winston can work some magic, get a big win for the Bengals, and find a way to defeat the Denver Broncos in that game. And you hope that that game with Kansas City is a game in which Kansas City is still trying to win. So really, Bengals fans should be rooting for, Buffalo and Kansas City just to be kind of duking out that spot for the 1 seed. So that last game is a critical game for both the Chiefs and the Broncos, because obviously you got your fingers crossed that game with Cincinnati, that Week 17 game, is going to be critical, and you're going to have an opportunity to, make some noise with a victory in that as well. But another upset would be clutch here when you kind of just look at these. I think the Chargers certainly will be favored over the Broncos, and the Chiefs will be as well if they aren't resting their starters that week. But if you could catch a loss from the Broncos by either the Cleveland Browns or the Indianapolis Colts, that would go a long way in helping out the Cincinnati Bengals, assuming the Bengals, of course, are able to find a way in front of the Colts before that time. But again, I think Denver is really the biggest threat at right now to get that last spot, and they currently have the last spot as the 7th seed in the AFC. Another opportunity for you guys to get interactive with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Will any of the teams on the outside looking in make the playoffs in the AFC? Type Y for yes, N for no. We're talking about the Dolphins, Colts, and Bengals. We'll spend some time talking about that here in a moment, but let us know in the comments section, will any of the teams on the outside looking in make the playoffs in the AFC? Miami, let's spend some time talking about Tua Tagovailoa and those Miami Dolphins. Look, I was a believer in Miami coming into the year, not necessarily as a threat to the top dogs like Buffalo and Kansas City, but I certainly thought they were a playoff team. And, of course, they didn't have a strong start, and then Tua got hurt, and then Tua got back, and Tua was playing well, but they still were losing games. And now, finally, they have come alive and have started winning these football games. Look, they're a dangerous offense. Do not get me wrong, and they've made some strides defensively as well. So this is a dangerous football team, no doubt about it, but they really don't have much room for error here, similar to really the Cincinnati Bengals, and their schedule is a lot more challenging than Denver's or Indianapolis's for that matter. Taking a look at some of these games here for the Miami Dolphins, having to deal with Green Bay on Thanksgiving. That's going to be a banger game, right? The other two games on Thanksgiving aren't very good. This one is good. Should be a lot of fun there. The Texans, of course, leading the AFC South, are going to be a very challenging game for them as well. San Francisco certainly having a down year, but at that point, you would think Brock Purdy's going to be back playing good football for them, and you think that Kyle Shanahan's going to find a way to string some wins together and keep them competitive throughout the remaining stretch of this season as well. So they've got some tough games rather on their plate that they're going to have to deal with, but Miami, no doubt, a dangerous team here as they look to make a push here at the end of the season. Now, Indianapolis, I think, is definitely the worst team that we are talking about here amongst the Dolphins, the Bengals, and the Denver Broncos, but look at that schedule there. Pretty favorable schedule for these Indianapolis Colts. Seems like since the benching, Anthony Richardson has kind of gotten back to playing some good football, and has really done I think he's playing the best football of his career at this point is really the way I should phrase that. But games with the Titans, Giants, Jaguars, those are really poor teams that they're going up against. So they're going to have an opportunity here to get on a run. I know they didn't play the best against the Detroit Lions. They're only mustering up 6 points, but really they were only a couple of plays away from, being able to execute and score some points because, they had a lot of penalties, stupid penalties in that game, drop passes. So they can clean up some of that little stuff. I think they'll be a lot better football team. I'm not really considering them a threat, though, despite the easy schedule on hand. Now, for your Cincinnati Bengals, it's very clear. I called last week a must-win game against the Chargers. They lost. It turns out it really wasn't technically a must-win. I don't regret saying it because it kind of still felt like a must-win, but they still have life, and more life than really I thought. I know the playoff probability there is only 13%, but if you beat Pittsburgh, I just don't see you being in a situation where you're going to lose a football game until the end of the year with Denver. It's really like if you beat Pittsburgh, I think Joe Burrow and that team is going to be locked in, and they're going to be able to take care of Dallas, Tennessee, and Cleveland. And then you're going to be sitting there with 2 games left thinking, oh boy, we are right in the thick of this thing. So this game against Pittsburgh at home is critical. The Bengals, of course, have stunk up the joint at home this season, hoping to, of course, change the narrative. I think Joe Burrow off a bye certainly is very dangerous. Bengals off a bye in general have the feeling of being dangerous, but really it's the fact that you see that calendar turn into December. It's when this football team plays their best football under Zach Taylor. I'm expecting them to come out ready to go. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I think it's going to come down to the wire against Pittsburgh. We'll see if the Bengals can get over the hump, find ways to make plays at the end of the game, and perhaps get them a win at home and really sit here and really put themselves in the conversation for that last wild card spot. Now, if you like our AFC Playoff Picture videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we will continue to do them if the Bengals win. So, unfortunately, this could be our last one if the Bengals drop this game to the Steelers. Might have to take a look at some offseason stuff, NFL draft stuff. I'm not quite ready for that. So, hopefully, the Bengals can find a way to get a victory against the Steelers. Then we will also have these AFC Playoff Picture videos for you guys the rest of the way out until the Bengals are eliminated. So don't miss out on that. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV.